Hi, this is Congressman Scott Peters calling, and it's Saturday, January 20th, the day after the government shutdown took place. I want you to know I voted against the continuing resolution, another short-term funding mechanism, because our military leaders told us it was bad for the military and for our country. Let's remember how we got here. Our fiscal year ended September 30th. To avoid shutting down back then, we did a continuing resolution because Congress hadn't agreed on a budget. That continuing resolution lasted until December. We did a couple more until in December. We voted to kick the can to yesterday, and the deadline was the 18th of January. We had understood that leadership would be working on putting together a budget. But once again, they invited us to vote for another month-long spending plan. And this continuing resolution problem hurts everyone in the federal government. No one can plan if you're only funding the government a month at a time. So we're faced with the notion of, are we going to continue to do this month after month? And I decided it was time to say no. In fact, I said in December, I said I would not support that. We have a number of issues to talk about. We do have to come up with a budget for the federal government that includes the military and all the other things that the federal government works on, including scientific research grants, which are big in San Diego. We also have to deal with the Children's Health Insurance Program, or CHIP. That expired back in September as well. There's nothing to prevent the leadership from putting something on the floor so that we can vote on that today. But they've decided not to do that until combining it with this continuing resolution. We also have to deal with community health centers. You know, 1/6 of San Diegans get their care from community health centers. That also needed money last year. Leadership hasn't given us a chance to vote on that. And people are getting pink slipped. So it's great if you have children's health insurance, but if you don't have a place for them to get their care, it's sort of a useless win for them. And finally, we need to deal with dreamers. The president decided to declare these people effectively illegal by rescinding President Obama's order. That means we have to do something about it. There are 3 different proposals to deal with dreamers. One is from Mr. Goodlatte, who chairs the Judiciary Committee. His is a very unacceptable proposal in my mind, but it's one that the Freedom Caucus tends to like. One is in the Senate. Mr. Durbin and Mr. Graham came up with a proposal that deals with the DREAM Act, with border security, with what they call chain migration, what I call family unification, and with the diversity lottery that lets people in from underrepresented areas. That's what they had heard President Trump say that he wanted. They came up with that plan. And then in the House, I'm a co-sponsor of the plan from Will Hurd of Texas and Pete Aguilar of California, a Republican and a Democrat, that would be more narrow, just deal with the DREAM Act and with border security. Mr. Ryan has the ability to put any one of those on the floor at any time, and I invite him to do that. If he says he's concerned about it, and if he wants to diffuse a lot of the tension around here, put one of those up for a vote. Let us vote on it. The problem with being in the minority and not being the speaker is I have no ability to get something on the floor. That doesn't mean I'm not working. I'm staying in DC. I've canceled my trip to go home, which I hate to do because I love being in San Diego. I'm going to donate my pay back, any pay that I received during this shutdown, to organizations that are affected by this shutdown. I don't think we should be paid. In fact, I'm a sponsor of legislation that would stop congressional pay during any shutdown. And I'm also a sponsor of no budget, no pay, which means if we don't pass our budget as Congress shouldn't get paid. Later in the day, I'm going to be joining a bipartisan working group called the Problem Solvers Caucus. We're going to work with Republicans and Democrats to sort of figure out what we can do to diffuse the situation and get a long-term spending plan. And I'll continue to work as long as I'm here to get this government back open where it should be. Unfortunately, President Trump, whatever you think of his ideology, it's chaotic there. And this supposed deal maker says he wants one thing, you bring it to him, and it's like the Wicked Witch of the West. You bring him the broom of the Wicked Witch of the West, but then he doesn't live up to what he said he wanted. We can't depend on him to tell us what he wants. Congress has to do its job. We have to pass our own bills. That's why we're here. We're an independent branch of government. We do not work for Donald Trump. And I don't work for Speaker Ryan, but I invite Speaker Ryan to put some of this stuff on the floor. You want to extend children's health insurance? Let's vote on it. You want to do something about Dreamers? Let's vote on it. You want to do something about community health centers? Let's vote on it. And most fundamentally, let's come together, let's stop the partisanship, the us versus them, and come up with a spending plan, a budget for this country, so that we can defend our nation, provide our generals and admirals with the support they need, support our veterans, invest in research and invest in the future, so that our kids can have a future that's been just as good as the life we've had, and maybe even better. Thanks, and I'll keep checking in from time to time to give you a report on the progress we're making. And have a great day.